We're gonna give this a moment because we're here for a noodle stream. We're gonna have fun on a noodle stream. That's what it is, noodle stream. Oh, where am I? Oh, there I am. Oh, noodle stream. Well, in case you were unaware, today is National Noodle Day. And it wouldn't be a noodle day without, you know, a noodle celebration. And that's what we're actually here for, a noodle celebration. So, I do have some fresh hot noodles that I actually just made. They're going to have to sit next to me for just a moment. They're very hot. Yeah. All right. So there's tons of reasons to be excited about National Noodle Day. Noodles, well, they're eaten all over the world. I mean, that into itself, noodles. And right now, I'm sure in your mind, you have an image of noodles. When someone says noodle, something probably pops up. Whether you're thinking something Asian, something European, something Eurasian, there's also more varieties than that. But, hey, Silver Fox. So, a quick cheers to Noodle Day. And here's my hot bowl of freshly made noodles. And we're going to have to let these sit here for just a second because they're really hot. Really hot. Ah, happy National Noodle Day. And there's so many things to talk about because noodles go everywhere from upper class, lower class, mid class, working class. Got my noodles because you today. Well, I'm happy I could influence the noodle excursion because there's so many noodle choices. Whether we're talking German Spätzle or what are they called? Lakshe, which are a type of Jewish noodle, or whether we're talking, ramen, which is a Japanese noodle based off Chinese cuisine, and it's actually named after the province in China that they come from. Oh, so good. And we're going to start off with that fun fact. Now, ramen is decidedly Japanese cuisine. However, ramen itself is actually named after a Chinese province where the noodles were imported into Japan. I think it's actually called ramen or something, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. And even if I am, it's okay. Because the fact that something we so very much think of in a very specific light doesn't even come from the place that we think it comes from is one of those fun things about life. And if I can point in the right direction right now, up here, let's just get my finger in the right spot. There we go. Up there in that corner, that is actually an image taken from an archaeological dig. Those are noodles in a bowl that have been sitting for 4,000 years. 4,000-year-old noodles still in a bowl. And we will not let that stand. Eat your noodles. However, it does, of course, give us an understanding that noodles have been eaten for a very, very long time. And if these wonderful noodles were found in a noodle bowl that had been sitting buried for 4,000 years, I mean, that just gives you an understanding of how long, human beings have been eating noodles. And I know, it's wild. It's wild. 4,000-year-old noodles. What a treat. Ooh. Now, I'm just having a little drink before I dive into these hot noodles. If I get myself all hydrated first, it's gonna be excellent. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a good time. But the thing is, I now have to point to this right next to me. All right. So this right next to me, that's actually ramen. And I know that right now you have an image in your mind of what ramen is. And depending on whether or not you went to uh, college in the US or not, you might have lived off something that was called ramen that looked nothing like that. I actually put up a picture earlier today on Instagram of a tonkatsu ramen, which is lots more broth, but nonetheless very good. And that's going to bring us into our first little fun fact, and I have to share it. I have to share it with you. Um, so, as I said, ramen actually can be traced back to China. China is a noodle-eating food culture, and they were introduced into Japan during the 1860s, uh, right when Japan was ending its national isolation, and you had the whole kind of downward turn. Eventually, the end of the shogunate, and what would be the beginning of the end of the Japanese Empire. Now, the Japanese Empire did stay around for another 80 or so years, but if you think about it, that's not much time. However, in the 1860s, Japan actually was introduced to what would eventually become ramen noodles from the ramen province in China. And that's just kind of interesting to think about because you think Japan, you think, well, they eat noodles. Of course, ramen must have been in their culture for a long time, but they used to eat a lot of udon, which was very different from ramen. Now, a very ingenious food inventor, Momofuku Ando, who was actually born in 1910, he is the inventor of what we know as the modern culinary delight of instant ramen, and he did that in 1958. So, the world's first instant noodles, pre-cooked and dried, put in a little packet, and sold for very little money. We can thank Momofuku Ando, who invented instant ramen in 1958, and then it took the world by storm. Now, of course, ramen itself still has a very interesting culture in Japan, and it is kind of a gourmet food there. So you have a lot of competition to make the ultimate ramen in Japan. They still do have instant ramen. It's still very much a thing there. I mean, they invented it, they gave it to the world, they still eat it, but ramen itself is it's a it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and it's actually a culinary big deal to the point where you can go on entire ramen noodle based um, tourist tours through various areas of Japan. It's a thing. You go to a lot of different restaurants. You get these handmade ramen noodles and these big, amazing bowls of broth and wonderfulness. So we're just going to move along, though. So that's just one wonderful noodly fact for you right now on this wonderful day, National Noodle Day. Anyone who's been following me for a significant amount of time knows I love noodles. For me, in my life, noodles actually have a lot of significance, and they are, without a doubt, one of my absolute favorite foods. All manners of noodles. All manners of noodles. I love them. I love egg noodles and buckwheat noodles and rice noodles, and I love glass noodles. Glass noodles are definitely some top tier noodles. And I love lo mein. and I love chow mein, and I love all of these wonderful things. You get crispy noodles, and you get thick noodles and wide noodles, but because there is so much diversity amongst noodles, there's also a great deal of contention in the noodle eating world as to where they came from. A large number of people think that noodles only came into Western culture from Asia, but there's conflicting evidence on that. And as the archaeological evidence kind of mounts up and the historical evidence mounts up, we might actually have had a wonderful case where noodles were simultaneously invented in multiple parts of the world in history without actually having to interact cross-culturally. Oh, I am a noodle head. That is for certain. Now, the reason I say this is, as far as history goes, is because now the history of Italy and noodles is very specific. Italian pasta, the very first concrete evidence we have, or very accurate historical information we have of pasta in Italy, is actually from the 13th and 14th centuries. And it's most assuredly due to cross trade. But that doesn't mean that, there were no noodles or pasta in Europe before that. In fact, the second century Greek physician Galen described something called itrion, which was just a mixture of flour and water, which were formed into shapes and then boiled. That's a noodle. That's a noodle. And of course, third and fifth century Palestinians also had yttrium, as it's described and illustrated. It's quite interesting. Now, Germany itself has something called Spätzle, and that's a German noodle that there is some evidence to state that they came up in the medieval times. So potentially around the same time Italy got pasta. A lot of questions there. Now, yttrium itself, which I discussed just momentarily ago, actually has a lot of connection to the ancient Israeli diaspora. So going back way early in history, and we're talking, yeah, maybe the 5th century. So there's a whole lot of boiled dough shapes and things which are most certainly considered noodles. But the thing is, as far as we're aware, that area of the world and the Far East Asian part of the world didn't have any cross trade. So, could it be that people of Israel and people of Greece and people of Europe and people of various Asian nations like China or the early Han Dynasty in China all managed to invent boiled dough shapes that you eat in a dish independently? Well, I personally think that the evidence is quite good that they did. Oh, my goodness. So, I know I'm just going on, but there's a lot to know about noodles. Now, one type of noodle that I also really like is the egg noodle. And I actually have in this bowl here lakshan, which are a wide egg noodle, but I've made them in a way which is similar to kind of a very minimalistic Japanese noodle dish with just some meat, some veggies, uh, and then noodles. So I boiled it, and then I fried it all in a pan and mixed it all up. It's good. I'm glad you think this is an awesome noodle lesson. There's so many different things to know in the world of noodle. And of course, you have your major varieties, which are wheat, rice, buckwheat, egg, and then other. Because there are things like acorn noodles, which were made in Korea for a while from acorn meal. There's cellophane noodles, which those are what I usually call glass noodles, and most other people do. Those are actually made of beans. So delicious. And I have kitties who are not behaving. And then there's even kelp noodles, seaweed noodles. It is a thing, and they are delicious. And I'm watching this cat right here. She is misbehaving, and she's being chased around, and she might have someone else come in. I don't know. Now, please feel free to say anything you want in the comments in relation to noodles, and I can go ahead and talk about it potentially. But right above me, just so you know, in this corner over here, those are actually coconut noodles. Those are Thai coconut noodles. And that's just wild. Right above me, we have some very distinct European pasta noodles. I've said that before to people, pasta noodles, and they go like, "What? No, it's either pasta." No, it does. They're both in the same family. Don't worry about it. But yes, those are Thai coconut noodles over there. They're delicious. Um, I've had a lot of Thai coconut dishes, and yeah, so apparently those are coconut noodles, and I didn't realize that they actually are made with like coconut stuff in them. I just thought they used like coconut milk and flavor and everything on it, and coconut meat. Go figure. So I learned something. It's crazy. It makes my mind just go pop, pop. The things that we make noodles out of, and there's shirataki noodles, and there's actually even corn noodles. That's a thing. There's soba noodles, which are a type of Japanese buckwheat noodle. It's just, there's so many choices. So many choices, and we have to respect the mighty noodle. Because if you can make it into a flour-like substance, you can make noodles out of it. On that note, potato noodles are also a thing. And cauliflower pasta, sweet potato pasta. Like, there's really just so many different noodly things out there that we can enjoy, that we can get into, dive into. Now, let me see. Oh, egg noodle. And egg noodles are actually eaten a lot of different places, but um, mostly Eastern and Northern Europe. Mm. And this is my amazing noodle bowl. This was a gift that I absolutely adore. It has a hole in one side that you can put your chopsticks through, and then it has a rest here. And then, of course, the chopsticks match the bowl on the inside. It's just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. This is just, when I received this, this was a gift. I just, whew, I can't stop loving this bowl. And now I'm gonna just eat one more noodle, and then I'm gonna go on. All right, egg noodles. I know that's not what you came on for me to eat noodles, but I'm gonna eat noodles. It's National Noodle Day. You know, I hope eat the noodles. Okay, eat the noodles. Hold on, hold on. I'm gonna get a good bit here because I actually have, like, I have some chicken in here that I fried up. Mm-hmm. 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 You have little bits of broccoli. How do you hold the chops? Eat me. That sounds oh my. Now, that's a good question, by the way. Teach me. All right. So there's a lot of different ways to hold chopsticks, but let me just start here. Now, in some ways, you want to think about it like a pencil. So, you know, you think of your pencil, you know. But what you're going to do is you're going to want to try to be kind of high on the stick here. Now, in various parts of the world, they hold it in different spots on the stick. So there's not necessarily a right place to be, and some places are really far out. But what you need to kind of consider here is that this stick here will not move. All right, you don't want this to move. So you're gonna go ahead and put that along your second finger right there to rest it, and you're gonna pinch it kind of between your index finger and your thumb. All right. Every time I try to show this properly, like what happens is, so now once I'm here, I'm going to actually use pressure from my second finger to hold that stick in place. All right. And then with my index finger and my thumb, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have that right here. How do you hold the broth? All right. I want to teach you something really important. All right. And by the way, so here you go. So you move the top stick, you grip, and put in. Now, because you asked, how do you hold the broth? I'm going to let you know something really important. And this is really important. If you are in an Asian restaurant, you drink it. You just drink it out of the bowl. You don't if they have a spoon there, you can use the spoon, but feel free to just pick up your bowl and drink the contents. It's not only acceptable, it's normal. It's the way you're supposed to do it. I apologize. I was talking with food in my mouth. You know, various cultures have various ways of approaching food, and I could actually get into that in its own video, in its own topic. But there are things which are very acceptable in East Asian culture, which are less acceptable in Western culture. For one thing, drinking out of your bowl. We're kind of told in a lot of places in Western culture that we shouldn't do that. East Asian culture, depending on where you are, and it does depend, but a lot of areas in East Asian culture, pick up your bowl, drink your broth. Slurping noodles. Most places in Western culture, we're told we should not slurp our noodles. A lot of places in East Asian culture, you slurp your noodles. Slurp your noodles. And I was actually watching a a show where they were going around from restaurant to restaurant, and a man was learning about how you're supposed to eat ramen, and he was actually told that the louder the slurp, um, kind of the bigger the compliment. So a loud, slurpy eater was kind of viewed in a way that they were very complimentary to the chef, the maker of the food. Yes. So, and again, that's not necessarily going to carry over to everywhere in East Asia or everywhere in Asia, because Asia has many different cultures, many different varieties of food, noodles, and how you're supposed to eat them. But if we're going to talk just ramen, or udon, or um, anything in the Japanese noodle family, big slurp. Give it a big slurp. Big slurp, good. And of course, I'm eating a very um, Eastern to Northern European style noodle right now, in a decidedly very Chinese bowl, cooked in a very Japanese way. This is either a noodle travesty or a wonderful fusion of culture. I can't decide which. I know, I know. There are people who do a lot of eating on camera. I've been known to eat on camera here and there. But this celebration is about a lot more than just me sitting here and eating noodles. Though I have now eaten noodles at least 3 times today on camera. Once for my midday stream, once for the video I did around midday that I uploaded to LinkedIn, and now here for tonight's National Noodle Day stream, where we get to talk about noodle history, the importance of the noodle, and how it's been around for really so much of our history. I mean, if you just consider the possibility that 4,000 years ago, they were making noodles and eating them out of bowls. Well, heck, that's a really long time. With the estimated current understood length of um, human culture, or proper culture, or culture as we understand it, being somewhere around 9 to 11,000 years, well, that does put noodles at having been around at least almost half of our time here. The only other thing that we can say for certain, other things that we can say for certain, have as long of a history in our culinary world are bread and beer. So that distinctly puts bread, beer, and noodles as some of the oldest foods that we know that were created from cultivation, um, which is it's quite impressive, really. Just to imagine that. And hold on one moment. I can't have this conversation properly without going ahead doing this. All right. So whether we're talking about beer or noodles, or the third member of this family, bread, we're talking about a great deal of time being intrinsic to human civilization, human culinary habits, and culinary culture. And it should be stated that currently we're only aware of being able to say that noodles were eaten 4,000 years ago because we found some still in a bowl. They could have been around much longer. We don't know. Now, I have eaten a lot of noodles today, and my cat has made many messes today. But uh, he likes noodles, and he most certainly knows I'm eating, so he wants to be part of it. But we're not here for Kitty to have noodles. Well, maybe one. Hey, is this what you wanted? His eyes just just became enormous. That's what he wanted. He wanted the noodles. My cats eat noodles. I eat noodles. Here we're going to talk about noodles. Something special. Something special. So, oh, now I'm just going to go ahead and if I can find it really quick. All right. So, here is one thing that's worth noting, and it could or could not be the base of what's now called lasagna, which is a very important pasta product um, as far as the Mediterranean goes. And there was something called lagana, which was actually a type of fried pasta-like dough sheet, which was layered, which dates back to at least the first century BC. So again, that's probably around, you know, 2,000 to 2,100 years ago. Um, Lagana, and again, that would place very firmly that that famous dish, which bear in mind it did not originate in Italy, did not, but it was in the Mediterranean, and Lagana, or potentially the grandparent of lasagna, has been around for a couple thousand years. And it's hard to argue with the fact that pretty much all pasta, and noodles, they're all in the same big family, the same big happy family of interesting, fun stuff. Mm. I should try to eat some of this up before it gets cold. Mm. It's good. It's good. Mm. All right. Whew. I um I like noodles too much. I like noodles too much. But then again, is there such a thing as liking one of your favorite things too much? As long as I don't build my house out of noodles and wear noodles and uh, eat only noodles, I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Oh, I'm getting way too excited about noodles. Now, I hope that you've learned a lot about noodles. Um, I would like to at least make a statement, um, and it's one which I will stand by, um, no matter no matter what kind of noodles you like, or no matter whether or not you like noodles. There's a great deal to be learned looking back at our history and seeing how important something like boiled, unleavened dough, the impact it's made culturally, and still continues to make. These wonderful treats, these meals, they represent a lot more than just the food. They represent cultures around the world and history and a holding on to of where we're from. No matter what your noodles are made of, no matter where you get them, no matter what recipes you use to cook them, these wonderful delights can link us through thousands of years of our history and the progression of human civilization. Now, I won't go on much longer. I've had so much fun here with you tonight as cats make chaos around me. Fortunately, not here right in front of you, but I've had a whole lot of fun with you here tonight. I I hope that you've enjoyed your National Noodle Day, and I hope that my pictures online uh, and my various videos that I've been sharing throughout the day, I hope they've inspired you to go out and grab hold of that marvelous noodly life we share. And Silver Fox, I'm so glad that I inspired you. And I'm so glad that we've had a nice noodle education night. I am your Saturday night. I'll see you all again real soon. But I'm going to bid you adieu and end our noodle celebration for now. Take care and be well. And I'll see you again tomorrow morning down somewhere near the river. We'll find out where in the morning. Have a great noodly night to you as well. All right. Bye. Be excellent, my friends. Get a noodle.